The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Long before hobbits ever tilled their gardens or sang under party lanterns, Middle-earth was ruled by shadow and light. In that forgotten age, great powers rose and fell like the tides of the sea. The elves forged wonders of beauty, the dwarves carved kingdoms beneath mountains, and men built empires, and forgot they would one day fall. But in the black lands of Mordor, the Dark Lord Sauron crafted a weapon of pure evil, a golden ring, not to adorn a finger, but to enslave hearts. He called it the One Ring, to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. He poured into it his cruelty, his malice, his will to dominate all life. And while the free peoples of Middle-earth united against him, Sauron's power was nearly absolute. Then came the last alliance, elves and men standing shoulder to shoulder beneath banners torn by wind. In that great battle, blades shone like starlight, and the dark armies broke against them. At last, on the slopes of Mount Doom, Sauron himself came forth, terrible and vast. His hand held the ring, his will bent the world. But as Isildur, son of Elendil, struck the ring from his hand, the Dark Lord fell, his armies scattered, his spirit fled into shadow, and yet evil does not die so easily. The ring, source of his power, was not destroyed. It slipped from Isildur's grasp and was lost, swallowed by the river. For 2,500 years it lay in darkness, waiting. It was found by chance, by a creature named Sméagol, who took it into his heart and became something else, Gollum. He kept it hidden, whispering to it, loving and hating it, until, one day, it slipped away again. And so it came to another, across ages and mountains and chance, to the hands of a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins. And there the story of the ring began again. In the quiet green hills of the Shire, no one thought of dark lords or fallen kings. The days were filled with pipe smoke, second breakfasts, and songs about nothing in particular. It was a land of simple joys, a small world untouched by the burdens of the great. Bilbo Baggins had been there and back again, on adventures most hobbits could hardly imagine. He had faced trolls riddled with Gollum, stolen from dragons, and come home richer, older, and never quite the same. And in his pocket he carried a secret. The ring, small, plain, harmless-looking, a trinket that made one vanish with a twist of the finger, but it whispered to him in the dark, and sometimes Bilbo whispered back. Years passed. His hair turned silver. His neighbors called him odd, eccentric. He was planning one last great party, his 11th birthday. The whole Shire came. Tables were piled high with pies and ale and laughter. Fireworks lit the sky. Bright dragons, shooting stars, blooming trees of light. And then, with a smile and a glint of mischief, Bilbo raised his hand. "My dear Bagginses and Boffins, Tooks and Brandybucks," he said, "today is my 111th birthday. Alas, 11 years is far too short a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits." He paused, winked, and added, "I'm going now. I bid you all a very fond farewell." And before anyone could blink, he vanished. Gasps, shouts, confusion. But Bilbo was already walking home, invisible and grinning to himself. Inside Bag End, Gandalf the Grey waited by the fire. "So," Gandalf said softly as Bilbo reappeared, "you used the ring." Bilbo shrugged a little too defensively. "I suppose I did. For a bit of fun, it's no trinket, Gandalf warned. "That ring is far older and far more dangerous than you know." Bilbo's smile faded. He tried to put the ring away, but his hand clung to it. "I feel thin," he whispered, "stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread." Gandalf looked at him with sadness. "Leave the ring, Bilbo. It's time." Bilbo hesitated, trembling. Then at last he let it drop onto the floor. The metal gleamed, heavy and cold. He exhaled, shoulders lightened. "Goodbye, old friend," he murmured, and walked out the door, never to return to the Shire again. Years passed quietly after that. Bag End fell to Bilbo's young heir, Frodo Baggins, a gentle soul, fond of maps and wandering, with eyes that looked beyond the Shire's borders. He lived simply, never knowing that the world beyond was stirring once more. But Gandalf returned one evening, the shadow of worry etched deep on his face. He had been traveling far, learning the truth of Bilbo's ring. He sat with Frodo by the hearth. "Is it secret?" he asked. "Is it safe?" Frodo nodded. "Bilbo left it to me. It's here." Gandalf placed it in the fire. The gold glowed red. When he pulled it out with tongs, letters appeared across its surface, curling elvish script, dark and terrible. "In the black speech of Mordor," Gandalf said quietly. "It says, 'One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them.'" Frodo stared in horror. "That's the One Ring?" "The enemy has returned," Gandalf said. "Sauron's power grows in the east. His armies gather. He's searching for it, Frodo. The ring yearns to go home." Frodo whispered, "What must I do?" Gandalf's eyes softened. "Leave the Shire. Get out of here. Take the ring to Bree. I will meet you there." That night, Frodo packed quietly. He took only what he needed. His friend Samwise Gamgee was outside, eavesdropping as always. "Sam," Gandalf said, catching him by the ear, "if you don't accompany him, you'll never see another spring in the Shire." Sam gulped. "Of course I'm going, sir. I'm going with him." And so it began. Not with armies, not with kings, but with two small hobbits walking down a quiet lane, carrying the fate of the world. They were soon joined by Merry and Pippin, two cheerful scoundrels who had no idea what they were getting into. Their laughter echoed through the woods, even as shadows lengthened behind them. But the ring was no longer hidden. The 9 riders had risen. The Nazgul, once kings of men, now wraiths, enslaved by Sauron. They rode black horses and carried the smell of death wherever they went. The hobbits hid beneath roots as one passed above them, cloaked, breath rasping like wind through a tomb. Frodo's hand moved toward the ring. It pulled at him, whispering to be worn, but Sam's hand clutched his arm. "Don't," he hissed. "Don't you dare." They fled through the night, hearts hammering, until they reached the inn at Bree, the prancing pony. Gandalf was not there. Only a hooded stranger sat in the corner, watching. When Frodo slipped the ring onto his finger by accident, the world turned black. The eye opened, vast, lidless, burning, and across the land the wraiths screamed. The stranger grabbed him, pulling him into the shadows. "Are you frightened?" he asked. "Yes," Frodo whispered. "Not nearly frightened enough," the man said. "I am Strider, and I can help you." They traveled together across the wild, hiding from riders braving storms. Frodo weakened with every mile. The ring grew heavier. the shadows longer. At Weathertop, the Nazgul found them, 5 of them, blades drawn, closing in. Frodo drew his sword, but it was useless. He cried out and put on the ring, and at once he saw them clearly. Tall, pale kings with crowns of rust and eyes like knives. One struck him with a Morgul blade. Strider fought them back with fire, driving them into the dark. But Frodo was fading, cold spreading through his veins. They raced toward Rivendell, where Elrond could heal him. At the ford of Brunnen, the Nazgul cornered them. Frodo's strength failed. He whispered, "By Elbereth and Luthien the Fair, you shall have neither the ring nor me." And then a roar. The river itself rose, turned white, and crashed over the wraiths, sweeping them away. Frodo fell unconscious, the world fading to light. He awoke in a soft bed, the sound of birds singing beyond white curtains. Gandalf sat beside him. "You've been dreaming, my boy. Welcome to Rivendell." Frodo wept with relief. "It's safe?" "For now," Gandalf said, "but the ring cannot stay here." Elrond called a council, men from Gondor, dwarves from the Lonely Mountain, elves from distant woods, and even one small hobbit from the Shire. They argued for hours. Who should bear it? Who should guard it? Who could wield it? Finally, Frodo rose quietly and said, "I will take it. I will take the ring to Mordor, though I do not know the way." A hush fell. Then Gandalf smiled. "I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, as long as it is yours to bear." Aragorn stepped forward. "If by my life or death I can protect you, I will." Legolas bowed. Gimli grunted. Boromir of Gondor laid his hand on his heart. Merry and Pippin ran in shouting, "We're coming too!" And so the fellowship was born, 9 companions against the 9 servants of Sauron. They set forth into the wild, beneath winter skies. Snow fell on their cloaks. The mountains loomed like teeth. The ring burned colder than ever. And that is where the journey truly began. The wind howled across the white peaks. Snow lashed their faces. The fellowship pressed on, climbing the cruel mountain pass of Caradhras. Frodo shivered beneath his cloak. His breath turned to mist. Legolas moved lightly atop the snow, his elven eyes scanning the storm. But Gandalf felt it first, a will behind the wind. "This is no ordinary storm," he said. "There is evil in the air." Rocks thundered down. The snow thickened to blinding white. Even the strong faltered. Aragorn shouted through the roar, "We must turn back. Caradhras will kill us before Mordor does." They turned away, beaten by the mountain itself. But there was another way, a darker way, through the mines of Moria. The eastern door was carved into a sheer cliff, mirrored by still black water. "The doors of Durin," Gandalf murmured. "Speak, friend, and enter." He pondered, tracing elvish letters in the stone. Then he smiled faintly. "Melon," he said, "friend in Elvish." The doors creaked open, revealing blackness beyond. They stepped into the ancient halls of the dwarves, cold, vast, silent. Pillars like stone trees rose into darkness. Gimli's voice trembled with pride. The wealth of Moria was not in gold or jewels, but in friendship. "In Dwarrodelf, my kin built wonders beyond compare, but that friendship had died long ago." As they walked, they found bodies, dwarves fallen where they stood, bones scattered by orc spears. "Something stirred here," Gandalf said quietly. "Something deep." Pippin, ever curious, knocked a skeleton into a well. The crash echoed endlessly. Then came the answer. Drums, faint and distant, rolling up from the dark. Drums, Legolas whispered, drums in the deep. Gandalf's eyes flashed. They are coming! The doors burst open, orcs poured in, shrieking, blades flashing. The fellowship fought back to back. Aragorn's sword rang, Legolas's arrows hissed. Gimli roared his battle cry. Even Sam, trembling, swung his blade with fierce loyalty. Then a monstrous troll smashed through the gate, snarling. It swung a chain like thunder, shattering stone. Frodo fell beneath it, stabbed through the chest. The troll roared, toppled, and died. The orcs fled. "Frodo!" Sam screamed, dropping beside him. But Frodo opened his eyes, gasping. Beneath his shirt gleamed mithril, silver light, the gift of Bilbo, worth more than all the Shire. "I'm all right," he whispered weakly. The relief was brief. More drums sounded, deeper now. A shadow moved in the firelight, vast, winged, burning. "A Balrog," Gandalf breathed, "a demon of the ancient world." They ran. Flames chased them through the endless halls. They reached a narrow bridge over a bottomless chasm. "Over the bridge!" Gandalf shouted. "Fly!" He turned, staff in hand, and faced the fire. "You cannot pass." The Balrog halted, its blade of flame meeting Gandalf's sword. Glam-dring! The light and dark clashed, roaring like thunder. The bridge cracked beneath them. The Balrog fell, but its whip lashed out, catching Gandalf by the ankle. He looked back once, sorrow and strength in his eyes. "Fly, you fools!" And he fell into the abyss. They fled from Moria in silence. The sunlight struck them like a wound. No one spoke. Even the birds seemed to mourn. In the golden wood of Lothlorien, they found rest. The air shimmered with light. The trees sang softly. The Lady Galadriel met them, tall and ageless, her eyes bright with stars. "Your quest stands upon the edge of a knife," she said. "Stray but a little, and it will fail. Yet hope remains, while the company is true." She gave them gifts, cloaks woven with elven craft, lembas bred to sustain them, and to Frodo a crystal phial filled with the light of Arundel. "May it be a light for you in dark places," she said, "when all other lights go out." They sailed down the great river, past green shores fading into gray. The world felt heavier. The ring grew restless. At night, Frodo felt it pulse against his chest, whispering of power. Boromir, strong and proud, looked at him with hungry eyes. "We cannot destroy it," he said one evening. "Why not use it? Gondor could stand against Sauron if we wielded this weapon." "It cannot be used for good," Aragorn said quietly. "It answers only to Sauron." Boromir turned away, muttering. They made camp at Parth Galen beneath the misty falls. Frodo wandered alone, lost in thought, when Boromir followed. "Frodo," he said softly, "you carry a heavy burden. Let me help you." "The ring is trying to divide us," Frodo said. "It wants to be found." But Boromir's voice grew desperate. "It could save my people. I see it in my dreams, a city burning, my father broken. Give it to me." He lunged. Frodo vanished. Boromir froze, horror flooding his face. "What have I done?" Frodo, invisible, ran through the woods. He felt the ring's pull stronger than ever, calling him east, to Mordor. He reached the water's edge. The ring lay heavy in his palm. He closed his eyes. "I must go alone," he whispered. "I have to." Behind him, Sam stumbled out of the trees, gasping, "Mr. Frodo!" "You're not going without me." "I'm going to Mordor, Sam." "I know," Sam said, tears streaming down his cheeks. "And I'm coming with you." Frodo tried to push the boat away, but Sam waded in after it, nearly drowning. Frodo hauled him aboard, shaking his head. "You fool of a Took," he said softly. "I'm glad you're with me." Together they set out, two small figures on a wide, empty river. Back at the camp, orc horns echoed. Merry and Pippin screamed as a swarm of Uruk-hai charged. Boromir ran to meet them, horn blowing, blade flashing. He fought like 10 men, cutting down foe after foe, but they kept coming. Arrows struck his chest, one after another, until he fell to his knees. Aragorn arrived too late. He slew the last of the orcs, knelt beside Boromir, and took his hand. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo," Boromir whispered. "Forgive me. I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king." Aragorn's eyes glistened. "You have redeemed yourself." "Rest now," Boromir smiled faintly, his breath fading like smoke. Merry and Pippin were carried off into the woods, shouting, "Aragorn! Help!" Aragorn rose, blood and sorrow on his face. "Frodo's gone," Legolas said. "Then we must let him go," Aragorn replied. "Our path lies with the others. We'll not abandon Merry and Pippin to torment and death." Gimli nodded grimly. "So be it." And so the fellowship broke. Frodo and Sam went east into the dark. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli turned south, chasing orcs across the plains. The ring's journey would continue, divided but unbroken. That night, beneath a red sunset, Frodo and Sam stood upon a ridge. The world stretched before them, gray plains, black mountains far away. Sam said softly, "Mordor. I hope the water's clean there." Frodo laughed, weary but sincere. "You'll never cease to amaze me, Samwise Gamgee." "I don't know about that," Sam said, looking up at the stars. "But I do know one thing. I ain't turning back." Frodo looked at him, his friend, his light in the dark, and nodded. "Then we'll go on together." And the two hobbits began their climb into the shadow of the east. The plains stretched wide and endless beneath the fading light. Frodo and Sam trudged onward through marsh and dust, the ring a silent weight between them. Every mile they walked, the air grew heavier. Every night the stars dimmed a little more. The road to Mordor was no road at all, only waste and fear. By the third day, their food had run thin. Sam stared at the sky, lips cracked. "If we keep going like this, we'll starve before we ever see that mountain," he muttered. Frodo said nothing. The ring pressed against his chest, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. That night, Sam awoke to a sound, scraping, slithering, something crawling close. Out of the rocks, a pair of pale eyes glimmered in the dark. Gollum! He leapt at Frodo, snarling, fingers grasping for the ring. Sam tackled him, wrestling on the stones. Gollum shrieked, "My precious! Thieves! We wants it!" Frodo drew his sword. "You know what this is, don't you?" Gollum froze, panting. His voice broke into a whimper. "We knows, yes, we knows. It is our birthday present." Frodo hesitated. There was pity in his eyes. "If you know the way to Mordor," he said, "then lead us." Gollum blinked, confused. "We swears to serve the master of the precious. We swears on the precious itself." "Swear on it," Frodo said, "and if you break your word, it will destroy you." Gollum's voice trembled. "We swears, yes, yes." And so the creature who had once been Smeagol became their guide. Sam distrusted him, watching every move, but Frodo saw something else. Not a monster, but a mirror of what he might become. Days passed. The land grew bleak and foul. Marshes spread before them, filled with black water and pale faces beneath the surface. "The dead marshes," Gollum whispered. "Don't look at the lights." Ghostly candles drifted under the water, faces of soldiers long dead, staring upward through glassy eyes. Sam stumbled, clutching Frodo's sleeve. "There's dead things here?" "Yes," Frodo said softly, "but they cannot touch us." They walked on, until even the ground seemed to breathe with decay. Far to the west, another journey was unfolding. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli ran tirelessly across the plains of Rohan, chasing the orcs who had captured Merry and Pippin. For 3 days they ran, never resting, never faltering. 40 leagues we've come," Gimli grunted. "My legs are short, but my heart is long." Legolas smiled faintly. "Then we'll see whose heart breaks first, son of Glóin." At last they reached a battlefield strewn with corpses, Uruk-hai slain by riders. "The riders of Rohan," Aragorn murmured, "the horse lords of the Mark." Their leader approached, a tall man with golden hair and fierce eyes, Éomer, nephew of King Theoden. "What business do strangers have in the Riddermark?" he demanded. "We hunt orcs," Aragorn said. "Orcs you will not find," Éomer replied. "We slaughtered them 2 days past." Aragorn's heart sank. "And the hobbits? The small ones? Did you see them?" Éomer shook his head. "We found no such creatures." He looked closer at Aragorn, his brow furrowing. "You look like one who has seen battle." "I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn," came the answer. "You serve your king well, but your king is under a shadow." Éomer studied him a moment longer, then threw him a horse's reins. "Then ride, stranger. Seek your friends. But beware, the shadow of Isengard grows long." They rode off toward the forest's edge. In the deep green gloom of Fangorn, something ancient stirred. Merry and Pippin had escaped their captors during the confusion. They ran into the woods, hearts pounding, until they found themselves among towering trees, older than memory. "Where are we?" Pippin whispered. "Someplace very old," Merry said. "I think the trees are watching us." Then one of them moved. Branches creaked, roots shifted, and a voice like wind through stone rumbled, "Whom? Little orcs?" "Not orcs," Pippin yelped. "Hobbits! We're hobbits." The creature blinked slowly. "Hobbits. I am Treebeard, an Ent, shepherd of the forest." He lifted them onto his shoulders and walked with thunderous steps through the woods. They told him of Saruman, the white wizard who had turned against the world. Treebeard listened in silence. "He has a mind of metal and wheels," Treebeard said gravely. "He no longer cares for growing things." And then, one by one, the trees of Fangorn awoke. Roots cracked the earth. Trunks groaned. The Ents gathered, deep voices echoing in the valley. "The Entmoot will decide," Treebeard said, "if Saruman's war has gone too far." When the Ent spoke, it was like mountains arguing. Days passed in their slow debate. At last, Treebeard returned. His eyes burned with sorrow and fury. There is no curse in Elvish, Entish, or the tongues of men for this treachery. My business is with Isengard tonight. The forest moved. While the Ents marched to war, Aragorn and his companions found new allies. They met Gandalf again, no longer the gray, but radiant and terrible. He laughed when he saw their astonishment. "Yes," he said, "I fell through fire and shadow until time itself was unmade, but I was sent back for a while." Together they rode to Edoras, the golden hall of Rohan. Inside, King Theoden sat upon his throne, hollow-eyed, his mind chained by whispers of Saruman's servant, Grima Wormtongue. "Too long have you sat in the shadows of another's will," Gandalf said, striking his staff to the floor. "Be free!" A flash of light filled the hall. Theoden gasped, as if waking from a nightmare. His back straightened, his eyes cleared. "Dark have been my dreams of late," he murmured. "Now I will dream no longer." He took his sword, Haragrim, and raised it high. To war! The people of Rohan fled to the fortress of Helm's Deep, a stronghold built of stone and courage. As the rain fell, the horns of the Uruk-hai sounded in the distance, 10,000 strong. Aragorn walked the battlements, checking the defenses. Beside him, Legolas smiled thinly. "This is no small host." "No," Aragorn said. "It is the end of one world, or the beginning of another." The battle began at dusk. Arrows flew. Fire rained down. The wall shook under the assault. "Brace the gate!" Aragorn shouted. Gimli roared beside him, swinging his axe with laughter. "Two already! I'm on two!" "Then you must aim higher," Legolas called, loosing another arrow. Hours passed. The fortress trembled. At dawn, when all seemed lost, Gandalf's voice echoed across the valley. "Look to my coming at first light on the 5th day." At dawn, look to the east, and there, upon the ridge, Gandalf appeared, white and blazing, with Eomer and the riders of Rohan at his back. They charged down the slope. Sunlight broke through the clouds. The orcs faltered. The storm turned. Victory! Far to the south, the Ents reached Isengard. They tore down the walls, shattered the gates, and flooded the forges. The river burst its banks, washing away Saruman's machines. Treebeard stood before the tower of Orthanc, watching the smoke rise. "A wizard should know better," he said sadly. Inside, Saruman raged, his voice echoing. "You have no power here, old tree." But the forest did not answer. It simply grew, patient, unbroken. The war in Rohan was won, but peace was brief. Gandalf's gaze turned east. "Sauron's eye is moving," he said. "He seeks the ring, and Frodo is drawing near to his grasp." Frodo, Sam, and Gollum had come to the Black Gate, the entrance to Mordor. It loomed like a mountain of iron crawling with orcs. Sam's hope died at the sight. "We'll never get through." Gollum's voice trembled. "There is another way. A secret way, through the pass of Cirith Ungol. But it's not nice at all." Frodo looked toward the gate. then back at the creature. "Lead us, Sméagol." Gollum's eyes softened for a moment. Sméagol will help, yes. Sméagol promised. They turned away from the gate and followed him into the shadowed mountains. For days, Frodo watched Gollum wrestle with himself. Two voices in one mind. Sméagol promised to help Master. "No, we wants the precious. We needs it. Master will take care of us. He hates us. He tricked us." Frodo could hear it even when Gollum thought he slept. Sam whispered, "He's leading us to something, Mr. Frodo. I can feel it." "Maybe," Frodo said quietly, "but he's all we have left." That same night, far away, the beacon fires of Gondor were lit. Flames flared across mountaintops, one after another, calling for aid. "Gondor calls for help," Theoden said. "And Rohan will answer," Aragorn replied. War was coming, but in the east another kind of war was being fought, a battle for Frodo's very soul. The ring's whisper had grown louder. It spoke of rest, of peace, of power. Sometimes Frodo almost believed it. Sam saw it all. The hollow eyes, the trembling hands. He wanted to take the burden even for a moment, but he knew he couldn't. It was Frodo's road to walk. "Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee," he told himself under his breath, "and I don't mean to." One night, as they camped beneath the black cliffs, Frodo fell asleep. Gollum crouched nearby, whispering to himself, "She'll do it, yes, she'll kill them both. And then we takes it." He smiled, a small broken smile. "Sméagol will be free." And the mountain loomed ahead, waiting. The air in Mordor was thick, a bitter wind full of ash and whispers. Frodo and Sam climbed through choking fog, following Gollum's crooked steps. The ring weighed heavy, its pull constant, its voice ever closer. Frodo's skin grew pale, his eyes darkened. Sam watched helplessly, praying under his breath that something of his friend still remained. "Master's tired," Gollum hissed. "Sméagol will find food, nice food." But in the dark, the creature's other voice answered, softer, crueler. "Yes, yes, lead them to her. She'll deal with them. Then we takes it. The precious will be ours again." And so he led them upward, toward the pass of Cirith Ungol. The tunnel they entered was vast and black. The air stank of decay, and somewhere deep inside, something moved. Frodo stopped. "There's something here." A whisper of silk, a glint of light. Then a shape as large as a house, crawling down the walls. Shelob, a spider of the ancient world. Her fangs dripped poison. Her eyes glowed with cold hunger. Gollum vanished into the shadows, muttering, "Now she'll do it. Now she'll take it." Frodo ran, light flashing from Galadriel's phial, the gift of Lothlorien. "May it be a light in dark places," he gasped. The crystal flared like a star, blinding the creature. She screamed, recoiling into the dark. But as Frodo turned to flee, she struck again, silent, fast. Her sting pierced him through the chest. He fell, still as stone. When Sam found him moments later, he cried out in anguish, "Frodo, don't go where I can't follow." He drew his sword and faced Shelob, rage burning away his fear. "Get away from him, you filth!" He fought with desperate fury, slashing at her legs, stabbing her belly. She screeched and fled into the depths. Then Sam knelt beside Frodo, tears streaking the dirt on his face. He touched Frodo's hand, cold, lifeless. He took the ring, trembling. "I'll carry it for you. I'll finish this." But when orcs approached, Sam hid and overheard their voices. "This one's not dead," one said. "She only paralyzes them." Sam's heart stopped. Frodo was alive. He followed them into the tower of Cirith Ungol, climbing through darkness, cutting down orcs one by one until at last he found his friend, weak, broken, but breathing. Frodo looked up, dazed. "Sam, what are you doing here?" Sam smiled faintly. "Come on, Mr. Frodo. Let's finish what we started." They dressed in orc armor, slipping out into the wastes of Mordor. Before them, Mount Doom rose, a mountain of fire. The ground burned, the air shimmered. The ring pulsed against Frodo's chest, whispering its final song. Every step became agony, every breath a battle. Sam stumbled, choking on ash. "I can't do it, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you." And he did. He lifted Frodo onto his back and climbed the last cruel slope. The world trembled around them, but Sam never stopped. Far to the west, Gondor prepared for war. The beacons had been lit, the riders had ridden, and now the hosts of men gathered before the White City, Minas Tirith, shining like pearl and stone. Inside, the steward Denethor sat hollow-eyed, his mind broken by despair. He had looked into the Palantir and seen only darkness. "The world of men is ending," he whispered. "There is no hope." But hope still lived in Aragorn, the hidden king. He had taken a path that no living man dared tread, the path of the dead. Through caverns cold and endless he called out, "Oath breakers, why have ye come?" From the shadows they appeared, pale, ghostly, bound by shame. "You swore to fight for the king of Gondor," Aragorn said, his voice echoing through the dark. "Fulfill your oath, and I will set you free." They hesitated, a whisper of wind and fear. Then their captain knelt. "The way is shut no longer." And so the dead followed the living. At dawn, the black ships of the corsairs approached Gondor's shore. The enemy cheered, thinking reinforcements had come. But as the ships drew near, a banner unfurled, the white tree of Gondor. Aragorn stepped onto the shore, Anduril blazing in his hand. The dead poured forth behind him like a storm. The tide of battle turned. The fields of Pelennor ran red with war. The Rohirrim charged under the rising sun, Theoden at their head. He raised his sword. "Ride now, ride for ruin and the world's ending." The horns of Rohan answered. They crashed into the enemy, scattering orcs and trolls alike. In the midst of battle, the Witch King descended upon Theoden's line, his shadow blotting the sun. "No living man may hinder me," he hissed. But before him stood Éowyn, the king's niece, disguised in armor. She raised her sword. "I am no man." With a cry, she drove her blade into his face. The Nazgul shrieked and vanished. Victory came at terrible cost. Theoden lay dying. Éowyn knelt beside him, tears streaming He smiled faintly. "I go to my fathers, in whose mighty company I shall not now feel ashamed." When the battle ended, Gandalf stood upon the walls. "The ring-bearer nears his end," he said. "We must give him time." Aragorn nodded. "Then we march to Mordor, not to win, but to draw the eye away." And so they did. The army of the West marched across the plain, a last defiance in the face of doom. Before the Black Gate, Aragorn called out, "Let the Lord of the Black Land come forth. Let justice be done upon him." The gates opened. The armies of Mordor poured out like a flood. Inside the mountain, Frodo stumbled through heat and smoke. At the edge of the fire, he paused. The ring burned in his hand, whispering softly. It offered peace, rest, power, everything. Sam gasped, "Throw it in! Destroy it!" But Frodo turned, his face pale, his eyes consumed by gold. "The ring is mine." He slipped it onto his finger and vanished. The eye of Sauron flared across the sky. The ground trembled, and from the shadows Gollum leapt. Invisible or not, Frodo's hand was still real. Gollum bit down, tearing the ring free. He danced, crying, "Precious, precious is ours again." But in his joy he slipped. He fell into the fire. The ring melted. The mountain exploded. And Sauron's tower, miles away, cracked from its peak to its roots. The eye widened and went out. The Dark Lord was gone. Frodo hung on the cliff's edge. Sam grabbed his arm, pulling him up as the mountain collapsed around them. They crawled out to the open rock, surrounded by fire. Frodo whispered, "It's gone. It's finally gone." Sam smiled through tears. "Yes, Mr. Frodo, it's over now." They lay together as the lava closed in, ready for the end. But then a shadow crossed the light. Gandalf's voice called from above, "The eagles are coming!" Two great shapes descended from the sky, wings beating like thunder, and the hobbits were lifted from the ruin of Mount Doom into the light of dawn. When Frodo awoke, he lay in a soft bed once more. Gandalf was there, smiling. "Gandalf!" Frodo gasped. "I thought you were dead." The wizard laughed, a sound like bells. "I thought I was too, my boy. But not everything that is lost is gone." Sam entered, eyes wide and shining. "Everything's all right now, Mr. Frodo. Everything's all right." Weeks later, the city of Minas Tirith stood dressed in white banners. Aragorn was crowned before the people. Gandalf placed the crown upon his brow and said, "Now come the days of the king, and may they be blessed while the thrones of the Valar endure." Aragorn looked out at the crowd, and then he saw 4 small figures standing at the front. He walked to them, and the people fell silent. "You bow to no one," he said, and then the king of Gondor knelt before the hobbits. The city followed, bowing low. In the months that followed, the fellowship returned home one by one. Legolas and Gimli rode east together to see the glittering caves and the deep woods. Gandalf departed quietly, knowing his time was ending, and the hobbits returned to the Shire. They found it changed, smaller somehow, though they had grown larger. They rebuilt, replanted, and laughed again. But Frodo never truly healed. At night he still felt the sting of Shelob, the weight of the ring. He smiled when Sam spoke, but there was a sadness in his eyes, a distance that no comfort could reach. One crisp morning, Gandalf came to him. "It is time," he said softly. "The sea calls you now." Frodo nodded. He understood. They rode together to the Grey Havens, where a white ship waited. Bilbo was there, older, fragile, smiling faintly. "I'm quite ready for another adventure," he said. Frodo turned to Sam. "You can't always be torn in two, Sam. You've so much to enjoy, so much to live for." Sam's eyes filled with tears. "But you're my best friend." Frodo embraced him. "You've always been the best of us, Samwise Gamgee." He walked up the ramp, the wind in his hair, the sea glimmering ahead. Gandalf followed, and the sails caught the light. The ship drifted westward, into the sunset, beyond pain, beyond time. Sam stood on the shore until it was gone. Then he turned home, the light of evening on his face. He opened the door of Bag End. His children ran to him. Rosie smiled from the hearth. He sat by the fire and took out a worn red book. On the first page he wrote, "There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Tale by Bilbo Baggins, and The Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins." He closed it softly. "Well," he said, "I'm back." And so ended the third age of Middle-earth. Not with triumph, nor with despair, but with peace bought dearly and a memory that would never fade. For in every age, in every heart, the smallest of lights can still defy the darkness, and even the smallest person can change the course of the future.